Shalom Chaverim. It's Wednesday night, and for those of you who looked for me last Wednesday night, I apologize. I had some laryngitis and under the weather, so I wasn't up for coming on TikTok live. However, I'm here. Our topic is a continuation of Make America Good Again. And what we've been doing is I have been presenting values which Rabbi Gary Fink and Rabbi Fred Reiner, working with the committee, put together for the Reform movement. Originally there were 10. I came up with 11 off their list that Reform rabbis have signed off, and their values. It's not about politics. It's not asking you to vote for anyone. It's not asking you to support anyone's politics or to support the views of a specific government. Rather, it's about religious values. And when I heard the sermon by Rabbi Fink and he presented it, I said, gee, what a good idea for a live broadcast to go through the values, but that would be Judaism. Then on my YouTube channel, The Rabbi and I talked to Joe, and Joe said, why are you limiting it just to Judaism? Why don't you expand it? And I said, the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There's our three Abrahamic religions. I said, gee, let's see how the three of them treat these values. Then Joe said to me, yeah, but here in Northern Virginia, we have a Hindu and Buddhist community. So I said, okay, we have to kind of contain it. We can't do every religion in the known universe. So let's add Hinduism and Buddhism. And let's see how each of these religions treat the same list of values. It's not about ritual, because obviously the rituals will vary. And it's not about politics, because this isn't about politics. It's about values that Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and others adhere to. What came to mind was a quote by Hamlet: more honored in the breach than in the observance. And when I listen to politicians who want to post the 10 Commandments in school, I then looked up at their track record, and they violate at least half of the 10 Commandments. And that's just what Hamlet said. They're not observing what they're professing. They're not observing their own religion. They want everyone else to. I'm all for posting the 10 Commandments. I'm also for our politicians observing them. And so I would like to prove Hamlet wrong. And I would like those of you watching and listening to prove Hamlet wrong. If you look at the values of your religion, are you living them? Are you following them? Not what some politician says, not what some pastor may say, but the actual teachings. So let's make America good again by following our own religions. And let's start with number 6, respect for others. Now, I do have a vested interest in respect for others, because in the book of Leviticus it says you should have respect for the aged. And also Leviticus 19, the vulnerable. We're going to look at these in detail. And keep in mind that since Christianity has labeled Hebrew Scripture Old Testament and is not dismissing it, so the quotes from the Old Testament apply to Christianity. We're just going to add on the teachings of Jesus. And then, of course, we're going to add on Islam, which is the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad. And we have Hinduism and Buddhism. So let's start with our 3 Abrahamic religions. Judaism emphasizes loving kindness, chesed. Now, I keep getting people wanting to be invited as a guest, and I say this every week. RabbiBlock@hotmail.com. We'll meet in my Zoom room, and you will co-host with me next week. You don't even have to ask. Just show up. Just send me an email. We have to have a procedure. We have to think of how we're going to talk to each other. We have to think of what questions you want, what do we want to address, etc., etc. So the answer is yes. Someone just EM 12592, whatever, to be a guest, please. You can co-host with me. Send me an email. And Billy Buckley, I keep seeing these names appearing that they'd like to be a guest. I'm inviting you to co-host with me. Judaism emphasizes chesed and rachamon, compassion, caring for. And Leviticus 19 is our list. Show deference to the old. Here I am. Respect for the elderly. And we've heard this before. It's also in Leviticus 19. You shall not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind. What this means is we are obligated to help, to protect those that have, I'll use the word disability, but that's not a fair word, up until I had cataract surgery, my disability were my eyes, and now my hearing is going. My hearing isn't as acute as it used to be. And so you don't curse the deaf. You don't say things that knowing that someone's deaf and they can't hear you. What this is teaching us is we have to have programs and we have to have education that take into account people who don't hear as well or have a problem with mobility. It's really very simple. Respect, honor. It's a religious and ethical obligation. And it's based on the divine image in each of us. And God commanded it, just as the 10 Commandments. God commanded us to treat everyone fairly and equally. Now, Christianity. I've already mentioned Leviticus, so that applies to Christianity. But how many times did Jesus care for the poor, the sick, and the marginalized, healing lepers, feeding the hungry, caring for widows and orphans? And that's my focus for my politicians in Oklahoma who want to post the 10 Commandments. Truly, are you living Jesus? Are you caring for the sick, the poor, and the marginalized? Or are you cutting budgets that help those people? Jesus fed the hungry. Jesus took care of the poor. It's just a question. Are you doing what you say you want us to do and what you want to post in the school? Really. Quite simple. James. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this. Look after the widow, the orphan, those in distress. Take care of our veterans. Do not pollute the world. What could be a better statement? What could be a better statement for Christianity? And of course, I've quoted Matthew before, do unto others as you have others do unto you. James, with the tongue we bless our Lord and curse those made in God's likeness. This should not be. Again, I think we should post that along with the 10 Commandments. With a Make America Good Again. Here's what the Abrahamic faiths teach us. A quote from each of them. I think this quote is perfectly good for Christians. You're blessing God with your tongue on Sundays, and then you curse anyone that opposes you or anyone that doesn't want to live Jesus? Come on. Come on. So for Christianity, respect is an act of divine love. Christians are called to honor all people, especially the vulnerable and marginalized. And that's why I actually quote from New Testament. I don't want anyone to think I'm saying this to Christians or I want you to do, I'm making this up. And that's why I tell you, I'm talking about Philippians, Matthew, James, Peter. And you've all heard these quotes before, haven't you? So I'm not saying anything that's not new. What I am asking is that live according to your faith. I'm not asking you to live according to Judaism, but of course, in Christianity, the Old Testament, the book of Leviticus. However, live Jesus. Our Islamic brothers and sisters, the Quran and the Hadith repeatedly emphasize the importance of caring for orphans, widows, the poor, and the needy. Zakat, obligatory charity, is respect for others. It's God. All humans are equal before God and deserve equality. We're supposed to have faith. Someone just said something about faith. I'm asking each of us to have faith in our faith. I'm not asking you to live by the Hadith or the Quran. And if you want, don't follow the Old Testament, which I find silly or ridiculous, but hey, but follow the teachings of Jesus. That's all I'm asking each of us. That's why I'm going to quote from the Quran, Surah 2, paragraph 277. Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds and established prayer and given zakah, and the Hebrew word is tzedakah, Arabic and Hebrew, same word, will have their reward with their Lord, and there will be no fear concerning them, nor will there be any grief. Look again, the Quran 49:13. We created you for male and female and made you into nations so that you may know one another. We have all honored the children of Abraham. And again from 49. 49 prohibits mocking, defaming, or slandering others. Our three Abrahamic faiths are in lockstep, lock-sync. Respect the elderly. Take care of the widow, the orphan, the veteran, the marginalized. Do not take advantage of someone because they don't hear well or because they don't see well. Not just don't take advantage. You are to help these people. But again, that's why I quote from the scriptures, from the holy documents of each faith. And I want you to look them up. Okay? From the Hadith. None of you truly believes until his love for his brother is his love for himself. Same teaching in Judaism, same teaching in Christianity. And we shouldn't be surprised because and someone just, why is Israel doing the opposite? Israel is a country ruled by politicians, and I don't agree. I don't think what they're doing is according to Jewish values. I think from 1948, from the establishment of the state, Israel began to deviate from our basic Jewish teachings. However, it is a country. It's going to be around. And killing and murdering is not going to get rid of Israel. And I'd just like to interject the killing of a young Jewish boy and girl, man and woman, here in D.C., that didn't create a Palestine. And I would like to ask you, what did the murder of those two people do to create a Palestine? And to say that it was justified because of what Israel's doing, no, it's not justified. Because you're telling me you want a Palestine. So how is murdering two innocent people creating... I don't see Palestine yet. Israel is in a political quagmire. And Israel's going to have to sort out its own quagmire. It's a country. And I don't agree with its politics. And I don't agree with what they're doing. I believe there should be an independent Palestine that recognizes the right of Israel to exist. I don't believe in genocide on either side. And I do not believe that if one person commits genocide, it justifies the other person doing it. Okay? That's why I brought up why killing these two people is going to bring about a Palestine. And why sending me hate mail or hate questions, is that going to create a Palestine? It hasn't yet. Hawkeye was talking to Father Mulcahy in MASH on one episode. And Hawkeye said, war is worse than hell. And Father Mulcahy said, I thought the expression was war is hell. And Hawkeye said, no, war is worse than hell. Because innocent civilians, children, and people are killed and murdered in war. In hell, the people deserve to be there. And I think that's one of the best things I've ever heard and the best way to talk about Gaza. Killing women and children and starving people is not going to solve anything. And it just demonstrates that war is worse than hell because these people don't deserve it. But nor do they deserve to be controlled by Hamas. And nor does Hamas have the right to hold hostages and rape them. No. Nope. And what Hamas is doing is not according to Islam. And I don't hear any of you screaming that. They're not living the teachings of the Quran or the Hadith. Why aren't you telling me that? So let's recognize that what's going on is worse than hell. Because none of these people deserve it. Right? So our three Abrahamic faiths are asking us, telling us, teaching us. Now let's move into Buddhism. Compassion and the precept of non-harming, they're central to Buddhist ethics. Requiring respect for the well-being of all sentient beings, respect for others, is because we're all interconnected. Mindfulness, compassion, non-harming, basic Buddhist teachings. All tremble at violence, and that's why I get so agitated when I read what's going on in Gaza, when I see what Israel's doing, what Hamas is doing, what the PLO is doing. One should not kill or cause others to kill. Now, I'm not asking you to be a Buddhist. I'm just pointing out the Buddhist teaching. If you're Christian, I'm asking you to be Christian. If you're Muslim, I'm asking you to be Muslim. If you're Jewish, I'm asking you to be Jewish. Let's not worry about what's going on in the Horn of Africa. Let's not worry about the Sudan, unless you want to get involved in it. But don't throw that up to me. Let's look at here in the United States. Let's look at our own neighbors. Let's look at our place. Look at the way we behave. Not someone else. Not to post the 10 Commandments so they observe them. I'm asking our politicians to observe them. Live Jesus. Live Moses. Live Muhammad. And if you're Buddhist, do not kill. Again, Buddhism. Cultivate boundless love toward all beings. Respect teachers, parents, friends, workers, and monks. You don't mock people. Even if you have a forum, even if you have the media, even if you have the basis to do it. One of the 5 precepts of Buddhism: refrain from harm and speak truthfully. That's all I'm asking. That's all Buddhism asks. And Buddhism says it's right action. That's where you're going to reflect your beliefs, not in what you say, which brings us back to Hamlet. You can say these things. Are you practicing them? Put them into practice. Be a light to the nations. You want the people of Oklahoma, you want our students to follow the 10 Commandments? I agree. Live the 10 Commandments. That's the light. Then point out to the kids, see, I'm following these commandments. That's all I'm asking. Hinduism, same as Buddhism. Compassion is a key virtue. Respect for elders. That's in all of these teachings. Respect for elders and care for those in need of care. Don't take it, and that's why you don't put a stumbling block before the blind. You don't take advantage. And over again, the emails I get, the texts, particularly seniors. Seniors are the focus of scams. All kinds of scams, taking advantage of the weak. I would challenge those people who are sending it. They might think they're good Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, whatever. They're not. I'm just asking them, follow their own teachings. Actions towards others have consequences. Now, we often think of instant karma. It's not karma. Karma has to do with the balance of the universe. Not the fact that if someone cuts me off, someone's going to cut them off. It's not what we're talking about. Actions have consequences in the total universe. If we treat others with respect, then everyone will be respected. Respect for others in Hinduism flows from the recognition of the divine, of Atman, the soul, of every living being. It's an ethical duty in Hinduism. From the Gita, the wise see the same in an elephant, a dog, a cow, a human being, in Brahman. Respect for everybody. Respect for how we treat the land. Respect for how we treat what we consider an object. Again, a Hindu teaching was regard your mother as God. Your father is God. Your teacher is God. Your guest is God. And all the old people. And isn't that God created human beings in his image? Isn't that the same teaching? Isn't Hindus teaching the same? How do you show respect for God? Non-violence, respect for life. And in Hinduism, respect is grounded in divine unity and the sacredness of all life, that we're all interconnected, we're all one. Ethical treatment. And there are some variations that will go along with different branches in Hinduism, different times, just like in Buddhism. We find different things. However, we find the same basic teaching in our three Abrahamic religions, and in Islam, and in Hinduism, and in Buddhism. Not taking advantage, because, whatever the because may be. We still have a few minutes left, and brought us back full circle to our sixth value, respect for others. And we show that through action. And our 5 religions that I'm talking about all say, reflect it in action. Let's prove Hamlet wrong. Don't just say it. Be a light. Let your actions reflect. Go back and take a look at what we've said. Someone just wrote about the 3 monolithic religions, and I call them the 3 Abrahamic religions. That's exactly. And that's why when I heard the sermon by Rabbi Fink about the Jewish values, that's what triggered, wait a minute, because I believe it's going to be reflected in every religion in the known universe. And I limited to the 3 Abrahamic Hinduism and Buddhism, just for time. And the internet provides us with a really quick way. You can look at Zoroastrianism, which I did. It promotes the same values, by the way. Zoroastrianism does. Same. Anywhere you go, you're going to go to some of our native religions, Aboriginal religions, respect for the land, respect for human beings. And we also see the use of religion for politics. We also see religion warped, manipulated for people to get ahead politically. That doesn't change us wanting to live our religious values. Just because Israel is acting in a way that's not religious isn't a reason to kill and shoot people, isn't a reason to threaten me. It's not going to make a Palestine. But what will make a Palestine, send me an email. We'll meet in my Zoom room, and we will co-host, and we can talk about what Israel's doing. We can talk about the state of Palestine. I'm inviting you, Nickel. Co-host with me. Let's see how you and I can do this, and how we can stop the hate that's going on. And you know why I'm smiling and happy? Because now a word from our sponsor. How to Be Jewish in 30 Seconds. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble online, or your local bookstore. So you can order up a copy. And the price of the book is worth the cartoons alone. And one of my favorites, you'll notice who's on the sofa with Dr. Freud. So I suggest you pick up a copy. It makes a great gift for someone. And you'll learn more about Judaism and Jewish practice in a lighthearted way. Let's see if we have anything. And certainly, each one of us is entitled to our own belief about the Messiah, the second coming, the first coming. However, nowhere does it say, because your belief is different from mine, you can ridicule me, take advantage of me. In fact, Christianity just teaches the opposite. Do unto others. So, the fact that Judaism doesn't recognize Jesus as the Christ does not give anyone a license to kill, shoot, maim, accuse, attack, because turn to the Sermon on the Mount. Doesn't say that. You don't have a license to do that. However, you can have your own beliefs. I'm not challenging anyone's belief. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just listing our values from our own sacred documents. That's my purpose. Okay, let's see. I wonder what number. I don't have my list in front of me, so I don't necessarily know what number 7 is. Oh, number 7, that's right, is acts of kindness and compassion. It's an extension of respect for others. It involves focusing in on actions to carry out our values. That's number 7 in my list. And we're going to look at that next Wednesday night. Remember the word yes, I am a Zionist. I am not a political Zionist. I'm a cultural Zionist, not political. Often people ask me, they think Zionism is one name, one thing. It isn't. We have distinct branches. Remember, the word rabbi means teacher, and that's my goal, is to teach. We do not have someone said, what's the difference? I do not believe in a political state. Once you have a country, then you cannot be Christian, Jewish, Muslim, because world politics won't let you follow the values. And you get led astray, and you have to do things that are politically expedient. You have to have borders and an army, and you have to have all kinds of things going on. And so I'll end. Someone said, "Do you believe you're chosen?" I think that's worth talking about. Not chosen to be special. The word chosen in Judaism means to do what I'm doing, to teach, and to be a light to the nations by teachings. It doesn't mean better, doesn't mean anything else other than God said, here's a mission for you. Just like the Jesuits have a mission. Thank you for watching and listening. Join me next Wednesday.